Hey there, welcome to Professor Pearl, a YouTube channel about knitting. I'm Nicole, and today we're going to talk about the ever popular Sophie Scarf. If you are on social media and you're a knitter, you likely have seen the Sophie Scarf by Petite Knit. And spoiler, I've made 3 of them and I really like the pattern, but I was unsure if I would make one when I initially saw it. And so I wanted to make this video to share about my Sophie scarves and the different yarns I use to make them and my experience making and wearing them. So yeah, when I first saw the Sophie scarf, I just wasn't sure if it was something that I would wear because it is a small scarf. And I do wear small scarves, like little ascots and things, so I should have known I'd really enjoy them, but I wasn't sure. So what drew me in to finally making one is I had some souvenir yarn. I went to Hamburg, Germany many years ago, and I went to the My LYS yarn store there and bought a skein of alpaca yarn, and what am I to do with this yarn? I didn't know. And so I kept seeing enough Sophie scarves that it was this will be the perfect use of my souvenir skein. And I know why I bought this yarn. It just drew my eye. It's soft because it's alpaca and it's really bright, and so it just seemed like the really great project to use that yarn. And so I did. So I made my first Sophie scarf. This Sophie scarf is a size large, and I will show you my 3 Sophie scarves and you will see they're not all the same size, and that's because I have a different gauge. And I don't gauge swatch for the Sophie scarves, so I just kind of knit it and they turn out how they turn out. So this is my smallest of my 3, though I knit it at a size large. I would say it's probably more in the medium. There's 2 sizes, a small and a large by Petite Knit, and I would say mine's probably in the dimensions between the 2. And so I wear this one like this. I will style this with a button-up shirt always. I have many button-up shirts, white ones, short sleeve ones, long ones, and this is the primary way that I wear this. And I really like it, and it's super bright. It has a nice pop, and so this is the one that kind of brought me to the other side of wanting to make many Sophie scarves. The alpaca has a nice drape, so it's super great. I think the one con to this particular Sophie scarf is this is a natural alpaca yarn, and it's so soft to my hand, so soft, but sometimes on my neck it feels a little itchy, and sometimes it rubs against my hair, and then I just don't like that feeling. So after I knit this Sophie scarf in alpaca and was wearing it a lot and sometimes feeling a little prickle on my neck, I decided that I wanted to make one out of superwash yarn because that won't have this prickle feeling. It'll be nice and soft against my skin. And I have lots of single skeins in my yarn collection, so I knew that I wanted to pick a special skein and knit a Sophie scarf. Of my Sophie scarves, my one that I knit out of fingering weight yarn held double, out of superwash fingering weight yarn held double, it's the largest. So this is the same exact stitch count, the size large, but it just knit up a little thicker with a larger gauge. And yeah, so this one turned out a bit bigger than my other one. And so the pro to it is it's a little bit bigger. It is superwash sock yarn, so it doesn't have that same prickly feeling as my alpaca one. And because it's bigger, I can actually wrap it around twice. And so sometimes I style it like how I showed you with the other one, but then sometimes this one I will style double wrapped like this. And I also style it with button-up shirts again. And this one, sometimes I also wear under jackets. So in the cooler weather, when I was like riding my bike and things, I would sometimes wear this underneath there. So that was really fun. And I had only one skein of my fingering weight. And so what I did is I held, this is coming out from the inside of the ball, and this is coming out from the outside. I held it double from the inside and the outside. And that gave me a little thicker gauge with the size large. I could have, to use up all this yarn, I could have like kept doing the increases and like weighed my yarn until it was halfway, till I only had maybe 50 grams or 60 grams left, and used up the whole skein. That would have been a strategy. But I decided not to because I wanted to keep the leftovers. I don't know what I'll do with it. Maybe there'll be a little pop on a sock, or maybe it'll be part of a scrappy project. But this particular skein of yarn is part of a sock subscription I have from the Arkansas Yarn Company Sock Society. And I just wanted to use up one of the skeins that I got in my box. And I can actually see with a sock, if you have a sock subscription, I could really see creating like a wardrobe of Sophie scarves. I mean, they just add a nice little fun pop to it. So after I knit this, both a size large, this one turned out smaller and this one turned out bigger. This one great and drapey, this one less drapey. This one sometimes prickly on my neck, this one not prickly on my neck. I noticed that I knit two Sophie scarves that were blue. I mean, this one's a bright blue and this one's, it has light blue with white space and speckles. But I mean, they're both in the blue color family. So after that, I was thinking, well, whatever Sophie scarf I knit next, it needs to not be blue. And my intent was to use the next yarn in my Sock Yarn Society to make another Sophie scarf. But what ended up happening is the next yarn that came also had blue in it, and I was like, I'm not gonna add a third Sophie scarf to this repertoire of Sophie scarves. I'm not going to add a third one that's blue. I love blue, but my favorite color is pink. So I knew I needed to do something with pink. So I looked to my yarn collection, and I had in my collection for a long time this math inspired yarn. It's from Pearls and Postulates. And Pearls and Postulates has lots of math and science theme yarn. And this was a colorway I bought a couple Pi days ago. And so on Pi Day, March 14th, 3.14159, I cast on another Sophie scarf to celebrate Pi Day. I'm a math education professor. That's how the name, my channel gets its name, Professor Pearl. So I thought it'd be very apropos to make a math themed and pink, because that's my favorite color, Sophie scarf. So I held one strand of this fingering and one strand of this mohair to make my third Sophie scarf. And what we have here is this. So this one is large. I can wrap it around my neck twice, like the last one I just showed you. But it's a little bit smaller than the other one, so I can also not wrap it around twice. And so there it is, wrapped around twice. Looks pretty cute. And this one, though it's pink, just the way that these two yarns marled together and played together, though it does have some pink undertones to it, it just also, to me, looks kind of like a nice neutral. And it's a little bit cozier with the added mohair, so that's really nice. The pro to this version was like the leftover yarn. I weighed how much is left over, and there's so much yarn left. Like, I could make another Sophie scarf for a gift, which I've played with that idea. But there's enough yarn. I could also knit a pair of mohair socks. And I am a knitter that likes to knit other things besides Sophie scarves. So like the thought of being able to make another project, it just kind of like opened up kind of like the world of like, there's so many dyers that like sell these like pairings, like they dye the same colorway on different bases, like on fingering and mohair, and it's like you can use it to make a Sophie scarf and a pair of socks, or 2 Sophie scarves. And I just like kind of love this like flexibility of options with that, so that's kind of fun. And I just love this colorway from Pearls and Postulates. It's pink with like mauve and gold speckles, but they're like subtle. And so this one I probably wear the most flexible way. So like the blue one, I pretty much only wear it in the knot in front, and the light blue one I pretty much only wear like double wrapped. But this one I've worn both ways. I wear it both double wrapped and also with like a little knot. I think that looks really cute too. Now everybody's skin is going to be different, so like for me, the mohair, it doesn't have a little prickle to me at all, like not in the way that the alpaca does, but you might feel different. The mohair might prickle you and the alpaca might not, but for me this just feels next to skin and great. I mean, I wouldn't want to wear this on a really hot day, the mohair, but it's perfect in this transition time. Like I'm sitting on my porch today and it's warm as I'm wearing a short sleeve sweater, but it's also not really hot in the springtime, and so this is like a really nice, still a really nice accessory for me. Though I wear this both this way and double wrapped, the other way I've worn this is on a bag, like tied in a bow, because this is just my favorite color, and I have some black handbags and some pink handbags, and this can look quite adorable as a bow on my handbag as well. So those are my 3 Sophie scarves, and I've just enjoyed them so much. I actually, after knitting my first Sophie scarf and wearing it a lot, I knew that I was going to just make lots of Sophie scarves, and I plan to still. So I purchased myself a Sophie scarf needle. So this is my Sophie scarf needle. It's by Addie, and it's a type of needle called a unicorn. Maybe because this looks like a unicorn horn. And it has this nice pink cable. And the only projects I've used this on are my 2 Sophie scarves. I have a very loose gauge, so your needle size you might purchase for or use for a Sophie scarf might be bigger than mine, but this works for me, and this length works for me because the Sophie scarf is knit flat. So it's just, this is my Sophie scarf needle. I plan to make more. And since I've noticed that I've knit an alpaca, a fingering and mohair, and a superwash yarn, I do feel like I should try to do a different fiber for my next one. So for my next one, I'm going to use Double Sunday from Sandus Garn. It's this beautiful color that it presents neutral in the camera, but in person to me also seems to have some pink to it. And I just love it. And this yarn is the Double Sunday. Feels like superwash yarn, but it's not. It's a natural wool. And so I have a superwash one, a fingering mohair, and an alpaca. So I thought, might as well do a non-superwash, soft feeling wool in it for a third option for myself. So that's a plan eventually, is to knit another one. So I really like Sophie scarves, as does like the rest of the internet, I'm sure. So, am I going to keep knitting them? Yes. Do I get bored of them? No, I don't. There's something very therapeutic to me about knitting garter. I really like it. There's just something really satisfying with it. It's a nice, easy project. If it was the only thing I ever knit, I probably would be bored, but I have a lot of other projects that are complicated on the side, so it's just a nice thing to do in addition. I think, though, eventually I will try to find a different scarf pattern. So if you're interested in sharing a Sophie Scarf dupe below for me to look up, I would be very interested in that, because though I'm knitting lots and lots of Sophie Scarves, I also don't want to just knit Sophie Scarves. So I would be interested if you have any suggestions for me. So that's what I have to say about the Sophie Scarf. I really love them. I'm going to keep making them. If you've made one, let me know. If you're interested in making one, let me know. And if you liked any of the knitting content today, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching.